if you are looking to grow your back and you're only doing deadlifts, you're leaving so much progress on the table, and we're gonna go into exactly why that is today. All right. So, for most people, most of the time, you'll hear doing deadlifts is going to grow your back. Yes, it can, and for a lot of people it will, but if your goal is specifically hypertrophy and growing the size and width and density of your back, what we need to do is focus less on the deadlift and more on some exercises that I'll show you at the end of this video. Let's kind of break down what your lats are doing specifically in the deadlift that makes this exercise potentially suboptimal if you're looking to grow your lats. All right, Alex here will show the deadlift. As we know, the lats are involved in the deadlift at all stages, right? Yep, bring up the bar. But what is your back and specifically your lats doing in the deadlift, right? So if we want to look at from the side here, your lats are used as stabilizers in the deadlift. For those who don't know, your lats actually attach to the top of your ilium, which is the top of your hip bones right here, as well as to your thoracic spine. So it actually attaches to your spine. So the function of your lats is to stabilize your torso and your trunk. That's different than the action, which we'll talk about later. So in the deadlift, what we're doing, our lats are locking in and we are stabilizing their position against the weight. Yep, all the way, yep, there you go, perfect. So that's what we call an isometric contraction. There's different types of isometrics, but essentially you're resisting force utilizing your lats. When you're looking for maximal lat growth, you need, or any muscle growth, you need three specific things. You need mechanical tension, you need metabolic fatigue, and you need tissue damage. In an isometric contraction such as this, you are getting the muscular, or the mechanical tension, which is great, but you're getting less and less of that metabolic fatigue and that muscle damage because the length of that muscle does not change. So like I said, you can and will grow muscle utilizing a deadlift to grow that muscle on your back. But again, if we're looking for maximal growth or maximal hypertrophy, we need to be focusing less on the function, turn around, the function of the lats, stabilizing that spine and stabilizing that torso, and more on the action of those lats. So the actions of the lats is adduction of the shoulder, as well as shoulder extension and internal rotation, right? So we need to train our lats through those ranges of motion to get the maximal hypertrophy, the maximal mechanical tension through those muscle fibers that we possibly can. So if deadlifts aren't gonna be your mainstay when it comes to back growth, what are we gonna use? Well, let's jump over and let's jump into what you can actually utilize to help grow your back more efficiently. All right, guys, so the lats, for those who don't know, they are fan-like muscles that sit just below your scaps, like I said, attached to your ilium, attached to your thoracolumbar fascia, as well as attaching to your thoracic spine as well. What we need to focus in on if we're trying to maximize development of that muscles is realizing that the muscle fibers go in different directions. We have more horizontal fibers, and then we have more vertical fibers. So when you're trying to grow your lats, increase the size of your lats, you need to make sure that you're doing not only horizontal rows, but also vertical rows as well. Pull-ups, lat pull-downs and whatnot, just like that. But today I'm gonna show you a very specific exercise to really get the most out of that fully lengthened position of your lats while focusing in on a brace as well, which will help in a lot of your other lifts. So Alex here is gonna show you. We're gonna be using the prime handles here. If you do not have this version, you can just supinate your grip on a regular pull-down bar. But I really like these because a lot of people lack the ability to fully supinate and maintain a really good position. So the reason that we're supinating that wrist or supinating that arm is because we're trying to get this lat on a fully stretched position, right? So we're trying to get it fully stretched so it's at its longest position so we can get that full range of motion, thus increase the amount of mechanical tension and metabolic stress on that muscle. So this is more of a semi-supinated grip, but we're gonna be rotating here. And what I'm gonna have Alex do is if you look, in a normal lat pull down, everybody will try to extend and reach their shoulders back flaring up their rib cage. What we want to focus in on is locking. You'll want to check out this on the side. Yep, so show that fully extended. That flared rib cage, right? Taking a lot of pressure off of those lats. We want to stiffen that core, tighten that rib cage down. And when we row, we want to think elbows down, not back. Good. Keeping that position, not allowing that rib cage to flare up. Yeah, you'll see them start to shake. What we're really trying to do is focus all that tension, focus all that force into those lats. I would spend a second or two in that fully lengthened position. Squeeze elbows down to your hips. We all know that those lats work at extending that shoulder, but they're not very good at in that hyperextended position. So when that elbow gets past that midline of the body, we start implementing more of that upper back, which if that's what you're looking for is great, but if we're looking for lats specifically, we need to make sure that we're rowing in the right direction. Good, we lock it down and you pull elbows down to the sides. Perfect. And how you feeling? You feel like contraction there? Oh yeah, good. All right, so that's exercise number one, more of that vertical pull. Let's go into something a little bit more horizontal for those horizontal fibers of those lats. So we worked on that vertical pull for our lats. Now we're gonna be focusing more on those horizontal fibers and working that horizontal pull. Alex here is gonna be demonstrating a very specific way to do a dumbbell row that will be attacking those horizontal fibers of the lats, giving you bigger lats and making you have to walk through doors sideways. So, setting up just like you would with a normal single arm dumbbell row, but a couple key points here. First and foremost, when you set up, I like to have an incline bench. Find your incline bench here at elitefts.com. And what we're gonna be doing, we're gonna be driving that hand, stabilizing that body, stabilizing that torso through some counter force into that bench. What this is gonna do is going to allow all the force being generated to go right into our lats. So as we had mentioned, our lats control the extension of that shoulder. So we're gonna be focusing all the planes of motion through extension of that shoulder. And we're gonna be, instead of rowing up, which you'll see most people do with a row, which will get a little bit of lat, but mostly like rhomboids, middle trap, all that. We want to be focusing in on keeping a decent little stretch on that lat and now driving that elbow back to the hip. What this is doing is you're working purely on that lat, and what that's going to be doing is forcing all of that tension through that lat and making sure that it is the prime mover of this exercise. So again, we want to be driving force directly into that bench, stabilizing our torso. We don't want to be doing too much movement of that scap, because if we bring that scap back, so squeeze it and then row, that's a lot more upper back, and that's not what we're looking for. Again, keeping it very simple, keeping that line of force directly through that shoulder extension, focusing entirely on driving that elbow to the hip, holding that contraction at the top, and we're making Alex work in this one. Squeeze, feel that contraction in that lat, and then you let go. It's a great exercise that you can implement at any gym that has dumbbells, kettlebells, whatever. You don't need a fancy cable machine, you don't need a fancy piece of equipment, but the key is having that basic understanding of what the lats actually do. When you're looking to train hypertrophy for a muscle, you need to be focusing on the action of that muscle rather than the function. If you want to get stronger in the basic lifts, deadlifts, bench press, whatever, that's when you start focusing more on the functionality of those muscles. It sounds very convoluted, it sounds very complicated, but essentially what we want to do is make sure that we are treating the exercises that we select, making sure they align up with the goal that we're trying to attain. So, like I said in the beginning of this video, you will grow a bigger back with deadlifts, but the fact of the matter is, if your goal is strictly hypertrophy, they cannot be the only exercise that you do. Make sure you're hitting the lats from all directions, make sure you're hitting the lats through the more vertical fibers, the more horizontal fibers, and making sure that you are doing everything you can to put as much mechanical tension, metabolic fatigue, and tissue damage into those lats so they grow big and strong and you look super jacked. So guys, if you like this video, make sure you check out all the other videos that we have in our catalog. Like, subscribe, send this to everybody that you know that wants a bigger back, wants some bigger lats. And as always, thank you very much for watching, and we'll see you in the next one.